G'day. You have tuned into Orange Coin Baptism, a podcast where I discuss Bitcoin with no coiners and find out what is outside the echo chamber. Alright, we're just going to start here, right? So, one of the things I wanted to state about this friend of mine is that he does already have some Bitcoin from the 2018 era, but he did stop. So I'll just talk with him anyway, even though he's not a no-coiner to start with. So you were back there at the same sort of time as me,
Yep.
and you were starting in 2017, 2018.
Yep.
So first off, what got you excited about it back then? What pushed you into it, and how did you hear about it?
Well, so I first heard about crypto in 2011
A what?
from a mutual friend of ours,
Shit.
but I talked him out of it.
You talked him out of it.
Yeah. And then crypto didn't really take off until the next time I heard about it, which was the 2017 pump.
Bull run.
Bull run, yeah. So I said, oh shit, I got FOMO, and so I signed up, and then it crashed, so I got out of it.
You got out of it.
Yeah,
But
so
you didn't sell out, did you?
It was experimental for
You
me.
did- but you didn't necessarily get out. You didn't sell out, but you did.
No.
But you did just stop looking at it.
I just stopped. Yeah, I just forgot about it. I thought it was one of those things that it was going to take off, and then didn't. So I couldn't be bothered looking at it going down and down, so I just left it.
Did it hurt to go down?
Yeah, a little bit, like putting some, like a bit of money, like serious money, not that serious, but just something I'm comfortable with, an amount I'm comfortable with, and then it mostly vanished. So I got cracked it.
Well, I did
Yeah.
myself. I did actually have a heart-stopping moment at one time where I had to sit down, and I just realized that one day half of the value had just dropped, and I was like, holy crap, what am I in for? So it happens. But I'm actually curious. So just to finish off that earlier story, what happened in 2011? Do you have some vague memory of what that was?
Yeah, so one of my mates, you know him too, mutual friend of ours,
Yeah.
he was, he mentioned it to me about the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
He read up on it, and he signed up for some futures,
Futures.
for some Bitcoin futures, or some sort
Okay.
of. I don't think they're futures like they are
Yeah,
now.
I don't reckon there was such a thing as Bitcoin futures back then, but I wouldn't know.
But he signed up for something,
Yep.
and then I don't know what happened. I think he forgot about it too.
Okay.
In 2011 because it didn't really go anywhere. I think it's one of those things that
Actually, I think I might be. I might know what you're talking about. Wasn't that some sort of like mining contracts?
what
I think it might have been
Yeah.
a mining contracts thing. So you put money in, and they mine it, and they give you a certain amount of interest per year. I think I might have actually. I think now that you're mentioning it to me, I think I did actually recall who that was.
I think so.
And when they also told me the same thing, and they said they might have had 1 or 2 Bitcoin or something like that in mining contracts, but they didn't know what happened to it.
I think so. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, well there you go. I didn't realize that you knew about that early.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel bad now because I talked him out of it, thinking it was a silly idea. But he would have been one of those people that bought the first Apple share.
Yeah, probably yeah.
I reckon.
More than likely.
Yeah.
Well, some people say they say there's a 2 or 3 touch sort of scenario where the first touch you write it off, the second touch you're interested, but the third touch you get in.
All right.
And so that could be that scenario where you had that first touch,
Yeah.
and then the second touch where you dabbled, what you did in 2017,
Yeah.
and then obviously now that's 2020. I'm sorry, not 2020, 2021 now, isn't it? Now that's 2021. You're into it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're you're back in after going stone cold for 2 or 3 years.
Yep, pretty much.
Who would have ever thought, eh?
Yeah.
So obviously you said that you couldn't stomach the crashing prices.
Yeah, that. So, well, another thing was paying off the home loan. It was more beneficial, and it's saving me more money to do that. So I did that instead of crypto. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I was obviously like talking with you about recently, and what I noticed, like paying down my loan myself, right? I was kind of the same sort of thing where I'd pay off the loan as fast as I possibly could to become debt free and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But the one thing I knew straight away is like obviously you pay a high amount of interest at the beginning of the loan, and at the end of the loan it gets really, really small.
Yeah.
But the other thing is too is that if you took out a loan 20 years, let's say you took out a loan in year 2000, and let's say you were paying, we'll just pick a random number, you're paying $900 or something, or maybe $1,000. Well, 15, 20 years later, back in 2015 or 2020, you could still be paying that $1,000 anyway. Even though, because the loan contract that you get into it's sort of the same the whole 20 or 30 year cycle. You're paying the exact same amount. It's just that the interest changes. The capital versus the principal versus interest just varies.
Yeah.
It slips from tiny amount of capital and heaps of interest to heaps of capital and then a tiny little bit of interest. But when you actually pay it, the amount that you were paying 10 years ago in comparison to the amount you're paying now is still the same amount.
Yeah, in proportion, you mean?
Well, the minimum requirement that they require you to do for the contracted time, you're still paying that $1,000 or whatever it is, set amount, 15, 20 years later. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, right.
But to some degree, your wage has gone up, the house value's gone up, but the loan's gone down.
Yeah.
And so you get to that point where you realise that when the loan starts to get a lot smaller, you start to go, you know what, I actually don't really need to pay this off so much anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I started to figure out because when you're just paying that, as I said, $1,000 or whatever like that, and if your interest is only like $150 or something like that, so you're only 15% of your actual capital, then it starts to get to the point where it's kind of like you can kind of just toy with it a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You don't have a huge amount of overbearing pressure. If it was like a $400,000 loan or something like that, and after 2 years you've only paid off $5,000, you go, fuck, I'm never going to get this paid off.
Yeah.
You just go, this is taking me 2 years to pay $5,000 off. I'm like still at $395,000 left to go.
Yeah.
That's when you stress out.
Yeah.
But when that $400,000 house or $400,000 loan whittles down to like, $60,000 or something like that, you go, this is a piece of piss, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's not as bad as what it was. So
Mm.
I just look at it now as I look at the interest that I'm paying now as rent for my offset account to keep my offset account open.
Yeah.
That's just like having like a personal loan.
So
If you ever need it,
do you feel
and it's cheaper.
do you feel there's any point in you paying more than the minimum now? The reason why I'm striking up is
Almost.
the reason why I'm striking that up is because obviously it gets to the point where you almost don't need to pay off your house faster.
Yeah.
You can just simply spread it. You can all the money that if you were throwing an extra $200 in a month or something like that, instead of putting the extra $200 in a month, you're probably better to put the $200 into Bitcoin instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it goes the opposite direction. It goes up.
It goes up, yeah.
Whereas the other one goes down.
Yeah. I can see I know exactly what you're talking about. I can see the levels of everything.
Yeah, because when you're paying off a debt, it's like you're trying to get down the escalator as fast as possible.
Yeah.
But when you don't need to pay it off as much, what you can do is you can put some of your money on the escalator that goes up,
Yep.
while you continue to walk slowly down the escalator that goes down.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So if you can continue to put more on the one that goes up and less on the one that goes down, it can sometimes it reaches a sort of an equilibrium where when one starts to kick ahead of the other.
Yeah. Yeah. So one overtakes the other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're sort of they're going in an invert direction, and so yeah, like I said to you recently, I was like, when you get to a certain point, pay off your house slower. Now's the time. I think, so I believe some of the prices at the moment are still below what any potential next bear market's going to be.
Right.
Like one of the guys online just said, only just today, he said he assumes that if there was to be a bear market in 2022 or something like that, or 2023, that it might hit the 70k Aussie dollars that it is right now. And so any purchase right now, you probably are buying the bottom of the next bear market, potentially.
Yep.
So any buy right now is basically, like buying the dip on the next cycle.
On the next cycle, yeah, because next cycle I think definitely is going to go higher than this one, because now everything, like now everyone's taken notice this year, and Wall Street hasn't even stepped in yet. I mean,
there's a little bit stepped in.
Yes, a little bit, but not. It's not even reported on the news. Like they say the Nasdaq and they say like the FTSE and all that, but they never say what the price of Bitcoin is.
Yeah, no, they don't. And every now and then,
Like
every now and then, I tweet at the Herald Sun to ask them when they're going to put the Bitcoin price on the newspaper.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, they print one day, and by the next day, it'll probably change.
Yeah.
So it's kind of pointless in doing that anyway. But it's hard to know what height it's going to get, but it's potential that the price is right now, which is it's about 72,000 Australian right now, or 55,000 American.
Yeah.
It's potential this could be that next bear market bottom, but some people say that because now the big guys are getting in, they probably won't let it drop further than 20%.
All right.
That's what they say.
That's pretty good.
Because if corporate type companies, they want to catch every single knife that drops.
Yeah.
And so it's likely there's going to be a whole lot less. And
they need that guarantee for their customers as well, I'm guessing.
Maybe, but I think that they're just more savvy, and they've got probably more more long-term view. Whereas all the people obviously who crashed the markets in 2014 and 2017 were just like people like you and me, who that they probably had bills to pay. They got in deeper than what they ever thought. They didn't understand why the market went down.
Yeah.
They didn't know how, their $10,000 turned to $2,000 in a few weeks. It didn't make sense to them, and so they were like, "Holy crap!" But now that the bigger guys are going to get in, and they're going to just keep on buying and buying and buying. So there's some people who postulate that it's going to have a steadier growth now.
Definitely, it's definitely past its experimental stage, I think, like Bitcoin has. Like since the Elon Musk pump, I think everyone's starting to take notice now.
I'll tell you a funny story, right?
Institutions and stuff.
Definitely. When the Elon Musk pump happened, some of the people know this online. My brother told me to sell 80% of my stack. Yeah. Because he said that Elon Musk is going to day trade all the suckers out of Bitcoin. I was thinking to myself, yeah, okay. I don't think when Elon Musk goes and puts his when he makes a purchase, it's going to be 10 years or more, isn't it? Yeah. I doubt that he's going to go and try to flip it in 2 months to go and make a big profit.
Not with that amount of money.
No. And especially, well, the other thing is too, right? Is it was it had to be broadcast and advertised So the SEC got a full report,
Yeah.
and they basically laid out all their next steps into the SEC. So the SEC knew, and so you can imagine yourself, why would if Tesla went and gone and bought $1.5 billion, they're not going to go out there and flip it in a few months, because the SEC will say, what was that all about? Excuse me, you know?
Yeah.
You're going to go and flip this thing within 3 months. What are you trying to do?
Exactly, and you'd lose faith in the customers.
Yes.
You think, this guy's playing us.
Yes.
Tesla's a fraud as well, kind of thing.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is that they just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
For the fact that the SEC is now looking, they'd have to. I don't know how long it takes for them to write, or get the reports ready to go.
Yeah.
But they would need to go and get lawyers, check it over, lots of stuff. It would go in. Once it goes in, it's like it's going to be some form of it's going to be sort of setting concrete for X amount of time.
Yeah.
So they need to do things in very slow, bold movements.
Mm.
So no Elon Musk day trading, I don't think.
Nah.
Kind of insane.
Yeah, I think I know that guy's he knows what he's doing. I reckon.
I reckon so.
I reckon he's
You can see something coming.
Yep. Definitely.
So what do you think you're going to do? Where you going to go in harder, or what are you going to do? Or are you still just going in? Are you going in modest?
Yeah, they always say put in as much as you can afford to lose.
Mm.
And I've put in that amount.
Okay.
So I'll see how that goes.
Okay.
For the next few months.
Okay. Well, I'll turn the conversation from price action now anyway. So, what have you learnt in the last couple of years?
I've learnt
like technology wise. Possibly.
I've learnt the behaviour of like Fibonacci charts and all.
Oh really?
Yeah. Like in studying how they move in that, and I've like learnt about like impulse buying and how you feel about when you buy.
Yeah.
When you buy crypto, how you feel. You should take emotion out of it. You should think like logically. If it's the right decision, or if you feel like it's the right decision. It's two different things. So
well, I think I learned pretty early on that sometimes when you don't feel right, that's actually the best time to buy.
Oh right, yeah.
when you feel like you're a winner, that's the worst time to buy.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, have you been studying more since you got back into it? In relation to how it works, or are you just simply
kind of thing?
all that sort of stuff? Are you just simply glazing over it still?
Still glazing over it. Just still reading reports every day.
Okay, but this is just news reports.
News reports.
Oh, I see.
Everything.
So you haven't really tried to learn about how it actually works?
I've skimmed over the white paper of Bitcoin, but I haven't really delved into the nitty gritty bits of the end to end, like each end of technology, however many ends there are in cryptology.
Right.
So maybe I should.
Does that phase you at all? Do you care about how it works?
Do I care about how it works? Not really.
So you're just kind of happy just to.
But I know.
Like let it just sort of do its thing.
Yeah, I'll let it do its thing. I mean, I'm gonna probably get more into how it works, but I'm just bullish on because it's futuristic. That's what I'm more interested in, where it's going to go. They've got to set up everything. See, it's not even on the news report, so it hasn't really been scaled. How they were talking about scalability in 2017.
Yep.
Hasn't fully done that yet.
Well,
but
I am a personal believer that that the Bitcoin that exists today is possibly going to be roughly the Bitcoin that's going to be a good couple of years as well. They might be able to make some things slightly smaller and slightly to be able to compact it a bit better.
Yeah.
But I doubt that. I think that the size that it is, the amount, the throughput that it has right now is probably going to be somewhat similar.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, as you would already know, that some avenues, some pressure is being taken off by second layers like Lightning and stuff like that. And some people,
Yeah.
believe it or not, just they go wallet to wallet inside exchanges, so they doesn't even touch the blockchain or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But I think that, I mean, see, the platform itself is it does make updates, but in terms of this scaling drama that you heard of, it's sort of the same as what it was back in 2017.
Okay.
So when it came out with that secret, update, it's basically got that same sort of format,
Yeah.
with maybe just a couple of other little small additions in there, but generally the same sort of vehicle that you knew back then.
Yeah. Right.
They tend to do things more slow and more steady because obviously it's holding a lot of value.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to go and pop a hole in the side of the hull and let it sink. So to do it more slowly and more modestly, it kind of keep it. They know exactly what it does, and it doesn't do anything strange.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to keep it more sturdy.
Yeah. Definitely.
Don't change the code too much.
Yeah. Like.
So when you actually send a transaction through, what do you think? What do you think actually happens? What's your knowledge on how that happens?
Well, okay. So if I send someone Bitcoin,
Yeah.
I've got an address. They've got an address. I type in their address where to send it to. I hit send.
Yeah.
It goes through and gets verified by everyone's ledger.
Yep.
And then is proved and then goes to them.
Yep. Proved sort of in the mining. Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Okay.
that,
Right. Yeah.
would you say that would be correct?
Yes, pretty much. And so where do you think all these ledgers are?
Everyone's got them.
Everyone's got them.
I think everyone that has Bitcoin has the same ledger. So,
Not entirely.
right.
Not entirely. So I would say that in your circumstance that you don't have a ledger.
Okay.
I have a ledger, but you don't have a ledger. Okay.
Right.
So the what you've been dabbling around in doesn't actually have the actual blockchain itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So that means that other people's computers around the world are updating with your transaction, but what you've been dealing with on your computer, it takes one fragment, like a 0.001% fragment of the blockchain, and
Yeah.
it stores that.
Right.
So it doesn't store the rest.
Okay.
And so at the present, the actual Bitcoin blockchain is about 330 to 350 gigabyte.
Right.
So it's coming close to like half a terabyte in size. Yeah, and so whatever you'd be dealing with it's probably only it's probably a couple of gig. You know what I mean? It's only just a small amount of data.
Yeah.
So your computer is actually not doing any work at all to be able to keep the ledger secure. Store the ledger, keep proof of all the transactions.
Okay. Yeah, right. So, would you say that in that case, it's getting centralized for a decentralized?
Look, it's kind of the same as what it was back when you first started.
So it's behaving the same.
The network is still decentralized.
Yeah.
But what you thought about what the decentralization is not entirely true. So there's plenty of people out there with little light wallets.
Yeah.
And they don't know that they don't have the blockchain.
Okay.
You'd know if you had the blockchain because it takes anywhere between 2 to 7 days to download.
All right.
It takes days.
Oh yeah.
So if you didn't have to spend days to open a wallet, then you don't have blockchain.
Okay. So if I had the blockchain, then my computer would be massive.
Well, you can what they call it a node. You can actually run a node and have it pruned. So what pruning is where they have all they have the heads of each block,
Yep.
all in a string,
Yep.
right? And then they just basically chop off all the transactions off the bottom.
Okay.
So all the transactions just get snipped off, pruned essentially, to just get trimmed.
Yep.
But if someone presents a transaction, what they'll do is they'll present a couple of hashes that rebuilds the pathway to their transaction.
Okay.
So they'll probably when they pass on a transaction, it will have they'll have like a few hashes that can build something that's on basically what they call a Merkle tree. So a whole bunch of hashes all joined together.
Yeah.
And you can bind that together, and you can check and verify that it actually did come from that particular block.
Okay.
And so if you run a node that actually doesn't have width that's been pruned, I think the last time I checked, there's about 5 gig, maybe 6 gig tops.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So you could run that. You could run that
So
on,
you run it
you could run that
on
on
a
a computer
personal
with
computer.
just only got 250 gigs of space.
Yeah.
All you need to do is just need to
Okay.
set it to prune, and it just trims all the transactions as it goes.
Right. Interesting.
It still validates what's going on in the network,
Yep.
but you can't inquire at that sort of node. So you can't ask that node what the balance is at this particular address.
Oh, yeah.
It won't know.
Yeah.
It can't figure it out. But it does know that particular block is true and correct and solved.
Okay.
Yeah. So one that does have the full, 300 plus gigabyte,
Yeah.
you can go out there and you can ask it to check a particular address, and it'll be able to find out how much is in there.
Okay.
And so with the wallet that you actually have, whenever you open it up, it basically sends out a message to the outside world and asks what's happened.
Okay.
It checks with other nodes
Yep.
what the status is, or what block height it's at, and stuff like that.
So
If your transaction is moved in it, well, it doesn't actually check if your transaction moved because it doesn't know.
Right. Okay.
But it will check to see if the addresses that you have been filled.
Yeah.
So it'll go out there. It'll ask a node or two, right? It'll say, "Excuse me, this address here, has it been funded?" And they'll go, "Oh, yeah, we got this transaction from this block, this transaction from this block, this transaction from this block," and it'll send you those 3 fragments of information, and you can store that on your computer, and it just proves that you've had it there, and your computer stores that.
Right. Okay. Yep.
But essentially, when you're doing that, when you've got that light node, when you've got that light wallet, it's calling up another node and asking it what's going on.
Yep. Right. Interesting.
So in terms of decentralization, your wallet's not necessarily helping the network at all. It's actually, to some degree, I would probably say that it's a little bit of a leech. It's sort of sucking blood a little bit from the network to some degree. It sort of sucks bandwidth from the network that's actually running.
So, in essence, it's like everyone that has money from the bank works at the bank. If you got money from, then there's only one bank, which is the Bitcoin bank. So everyone is communicating with each other. Everyone wants information from each other.
The best way to say
But
is
there's
that,
no master.
there's about last time I checked, there's probably about 9,000 to 10,000 nodes that are running.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, and I think 60 to 65% of them have the 300 plus gigabytes of data. They have everything.
Yep.
And about 40% has prune nodes. So 40% can validate that the block, that the chain is valid, but they can't inquire.
Right. Okay.
Right, and so outside of that, outside the 10,000, right? So if we assume 6,500 have full chain, and then 4,000 have prune chains,
Yeah.
There's upward of almost about 10,000. Almost like 60 to 100,000 nodes actually out there, and most of them are hidden behind like the Tor network.
Oh yeah.
So we can't go and find out what they know. They
Right.
they don't really disclose what's going on, but they do continuously transmit stuff all the time, and they'll help
Yeah.
distribute the data. But then outside of that 100,000 odd nodes, I can only imagine maybe there's probably another 1 or 2 million or something like that, which are probably just light nodes, I'm assuming.
All right.
Light wallets like your own, which
Mm.
people just open up on their phone, and it sends off an inquiry to the system.
Yep.
So no, it's not like a centralized like a bank system where it just encodes at one location. No, when your wallet turns on, it will, if it's from a particular wallet provider or something like that, it'll signal to their nominated wallet providers.
Yep.
It'll signal to their nodes, the ones that they run.
Okay.
So you could be sort of, when you turn your one on, you could be almost contacting their node, or at least maybe 5 other people that they've nominated as being trusted nodes or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So all the information is getting fed straight from those guys.
Wow. It's pretty amazing. I don't think anyone's done anything like that before.
No, I don't think so.
To this degree of like confirming this and that, and
I think they've had plenty of distributed ledgers before. Like distributed sort of servers. So you might have a server, like say had 2 servers in 2 different cities or something like that,
yeah.
and they can both have the same amount of data, but they don't join it together. Like they don't sort of join it together, like stitch it together like a blockchain does.
Yeah.
But the other thing, like you were saying, you don't know whether or not the scaling issue or whatever like that from 2017 has been resolved or not.
Mm.
Well, one of the things you got to understand about that scaling is that if you increase the scale to make the scaling better, then what that does, it puts more pressure on those 10,000 nodes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's essentially what's happening.
Right.
So all that data that's moving around on those 10,000 nodes, it all needs to be backed up, and it all needs to be propagated. So the propagation being the where the information from one node gets transmitted to the other one, and they check it and then send it to another person, and then they send it to another person.
Yeah.
And so if you kind of scale it up too much to some degree, they need to send more and more data to each other.
Okay.
Like the amount of data that needs to get transmitted between each other just significantly jumps up.
Yeah.
And also the hard drive space needs to significantly jump up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So if one of those nodes gets destroyed physically,
Just a single node.
one node. Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Then it just simply drops off the network.
It just
It's a nothing moment.
It's a nothing.
Nodes drop on and off the network all the time.
Because everyone else
is still in sync. Yes.
Still in sync. Yeah.
The network jumps from 9,000 to 8,000 almost within a day anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always going up and down.
Yeah. Right.
It's never the same. Some people turn on more and then suddenly it bursts to like 11,000 nodes or something like that. It all depends. It all depends on whether or not it's a bull market or bear market.
Yeah.
People turn them on and they start getting a lot more. Yeah, they start working harder.
It's a lot of electricity too to keep Bitcoin running.
Yeah.
And that's what Elon Musk was concerned about as well, because he's all, sustainability and environmentally friendly, and he's gone that direction.
Yeah.
And he buys Bitcoin, which is based on electricity, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, some say that see, energy itself is not inherently sort of damaging. It's the types of energy. And so some people are some people are deliberately connecting them directly to dams, things like that.
Yeah.
Because if a dam is having a huge amount of outflow, because like the electricity system will waver depending on the way, the conditions of the day, and so they might keep a system running all throughout the day, right? And instead of having to dial that down for nighttime when everyone goes to sleep or whatever, they can probably just keep it running, and they could just crank up the mining at that particular time.
Oh, right.
So to some degree, what they can do is they can put the mining infrastructure in for places so that there's less, so it can sort of cope with the intermittency of electricity as well. So instead of having to make the electricity go up like waves all through the day, you can kind of keep it more flat, and that way they don't have to turn on and turn off certain things too.
Okay.
Because what they find, I think some diesel generators or whatever like that, it's better for you to have the power load higher and then not have to worry about turning on the generator because of the shortfall. So it's probably better just to simply turn the miners off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's many things being tested and stuff. And I mean, some of the things that have been talked about this year has been about stopping gas flaring at like oil rig sites and gas rig gas sites.
Yeah, the gas burner.
Because apparently when they flare gas, you know how sometimes you'll find a rig and they've got a flare up top and it's just burning non-stop.
Yeah.
Well, they need to do that, because it's all waste.
Yeah.
And apparently they actually get hefty fines because of how much they emit, because how much they burn.
Yeah.
And so some of them are actually going and tapping a mining rig and diesel motor to actually run off the flare.
Nice.
So to some degree, it's kind of like it's taking that one extra conversion down and using some of the lost energy.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
So it's hard to know. It's hard to know whether or not all the electricity that's getting burned on mining is bad. Some of it probably is. Some of it's probably not.
Yeah. Imagine. Well, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
If the last Bitcoin
Yes.
gets mined,
Yes.
what happens to the miners? Do they keep processing for no reward, or?
Okay, so what they generally say is, right, there's two ways to answer this. What they generally say is that the fees will take over, which they kind of already are to some degree. There's already some pretty hefty fees kind of moving around at the moment. Some more modest, $5 fees or something like that, depending on what you do and how you send them off. And so those fees are starting to creep up on the actual reward. And the other thing is that I don't think you and I are going to live to 2041.
Yeah, that's right.
We're not going to be around.
Was it 21 or 41?
Yeah, 2140.
2140, yeah.
We're not going to be alive. So I'm sure someone will figure out something at that stage.
Imagine the size of the mine, like the size of the mass of the computer.
Like who knows? Who knows how big it could be? But what someone they showed is that when they used to mine 50 Bitcoin every single time, and the amount that cost back then, the reward was less than when it was 25 Bitcoin at a higher price, and then that amount of daily reward was less than when it was at 12.5 and a higher price.
Yeah.
And so if it continues to just go up and up and up and up, then when it's at 6.5 and a higher price, it's going to be more profitable than what it was when it was 12.5.
I get it. Yeah.
So to some degree, it's sort of the more it continues to go up, the more it kind of like it actually becomes more profitable anyway.
Yeah.
But even though they are obviously having to buy more equipment and fix more equipment all day long, and the electricity bills are probably going up high because they're competing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
The old classic FUD questions.
Yeah, FUD.
Those FUD questions have been around for ages. There's actually a peak at the moment right now of fuzzers coming in and bringing out questions that were basically resolved back in 2013.
Yeah.
People going, oh, what are you going to do when the reward runs out? Well, maybe these people just need to read before asking questions more often.
Do the research.
Yeah, do their research.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions?
Not at this moment.
Must be something juicy.
Something choosy.
Something juicy, yeah.
What's your prediction? All right, so you've got shares, and then you've got Bitcoin. With shares, you keep them for, say, 10 years or something.
Okay.
For
Yep.
a long-term thing. What do you reckon the price of Bitcoin is in 10 years?
You want my prediction?
Yeah, like
In 10 years.
yeah, 10 years. Because we're
Like,
not acting like we've bought shares. Like no one's in Bitcoin acting like they've bought shares because it's been what 10 years.
Yeah.
We're talking like.
Look, I'm not really
15,
big on predictions or anything like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's over $1 million by that time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's 10 years away.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
But look, the thing is, right, is that what I probably want to portray to you more than anything, right, is that most people come into this from an idea of like how high can it go.
Yeah.
But once you really actually do go deep, once you actually start to really understand what's actually going on, you actually start to ask how low will the dollar go.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever thought about that?
No, because I haven't really been in a scenario where the dollar's been so low that people have, like,
Well, the dollar feels stable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels stable.
It feels stable.
Because it feels stable because it's never had like a crash, I guess.
But how do we know? We don't know if it's had a crash because when you wake up with $5 in your bank, in your wallet one day, it still looks like $5 in a year.
Yeah.
It doesn't look any different, so we don't know if it crashes or not.
That's right.
But that's the thing. I guess we don't have to keep track. I was telling some people that since, believe it or not, like so most money really should have always been tracked in gold, right, for the last 100 years, right, before Bitcoin kicked in, right? Yeah. But from the 1st of January 2020 to the end of 2020, the price of the dollar crashed about 15 to 16% based on gold.
Yeah.
Have you felt that?
No.
No, you haven't. You don't really have a clue.
No.
Because look, because gold has gone up 15% over the Aussie dollar.
Yeah.
But you don't pay attention to it, right? Nobody does.
No.
Right? But essentially, the value of the Australian dollar has crashed 15% in basis from gold.
You're right.
And when I did those numbers, and I sent them off to my family just to let them know that yeah, they were looking at 1% interest on their banks, and they were thinking they were doing well. I told them, yeah, you're 14% down.
Yeah.
But while you go down 15% in gold terms, you actually created about 65% in Bitcoin terms.
So Bitcoin's gone up.
Bitcoin's gone up.
65.
So $100 of Bitcoin on January 1st, 2020, right, would only buy you $35 of Bitcoin. Oh, sorry. God, I'm going to get this wrong. I just know it. Yes, I have got it wrong. The value of your dollar is only about $35.
Yeah.
In purchasing power.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So if you spend $100 $100 of Aussie dollars to go and buy Bitcoin, I really am going to get this wrong. My God, I'm way out of whack.
It's always fluctuating as well.
It is always fluctuating, but over the 2020 year, it grew.
Okay.
It grew.
Yeah.
So while gold grew, Bitcoin grew as well, which basically made the dollar crash 15% against gold and 65% against Bitcoin.
Okay. So the price of the dollar is crashing because of gold and Bitcoin?
Well, yes, if you just invert the charts, yes.
Right, okay.
If you invert the charts, if you live on a gold standard or if you live on a Bitcoin standard, the dollar has crashed against both those assets.
You're right.
If you live on the dollar standard, your dollar standard is one.
Yeah.
It's always level.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the Aussie dollar, I mean, we've had I watched the RBA recently, and there's been 2 quantitative easing press releases in the last 2 quarters.
Oh yeah.
Last 2 months or something. I can't recall. They were gonna do $100 billion in quantitative easing 3 months ago, and they went and did another $100 billion in quantitative easing this last month, just passed.
Right.
Do you know what quantitative easing is?
No, never heard of it.
Yeah. Something along the lines. Let's see. What's the best way to explain it?
Is it like?
So what they do is the RBA will enter a dollar amount into their balance sheet.
Yeah.
Right. And so they enter $100 billion into their balance sheet, right? And then they go on to what you would call the bond market, which is kind of similar to shares, but bonds is basically packages of debt. Right. And they go and buy those packages of debt, right?
Yep.
Of the public, of the people who are in the bond market. Okay. So people who are trying to sell their bonds, they get their bonds instantly sold. They're gone.
Okay.
And they get rewarded with that. They receive the dollars that the RBA created.
Okay.
And so those wealthy investors who were selling their bonds and who have now received dollars for the trade, right? They can go on and buy either new bonds, or they can go out and buy, Commonwealth Bank shares or BHP shares or something like that with it, or Tesla shares or Apple shares. Yep. And so the quantitative easing is where the actual RBA has created that $100 billion in new money, and have gone onto the open bond market, purchased all the bonds of these wealthy investors, and have given them basically a flush of cash to go out there and invest in whatever else they want to.
Okay, right.
And so when the next chain happens, right, that wealthy investor will go out there and let's say they go and buy a whole bunch of Commonwealth Bank shares. Yeah. So the Commonwealth Bank shares. So someone who's selling Commonwealth Bank shares will receive the money.
I see.
And so let's say that let's say you're the one who went and you had like 2,000 Commonwealth Bank shares, and you sold your Commonwealth Bank shares because it went up. You're happy with it, right? And you received cash. You received dollars. Yep. And then so that next stage is the dollars that you receive. You can either go and buy a property, or maybe you want to go and buy another set of shares, or maybe you want to go and buy some shopping or a car.
Right.
So you sell your shares so that you can go and buy a house, and that puts the money into the housing market.
Yeah.
Or you go and buy a car with it, and you go and buy a Toyota or whatever like that. The money goes to Toyota.
Yeah.
Right. Or else if you want to go and buy just shopping, it goes to Woolworths and Coles. Right?
Right.
And so by a couple of chains, right? So you've gone from the RBA, they create money. Yep. It goes into the bond market, the people who are selling their bonds, and those people buy shares, and those shares potentially go and buy, go and give money to some of the more smaller investors.
Yep.
And so that
Gotcha.
money goes straight from the RBA, who's right at the top, straight to some of the richest people, right all the way down to almost till it gets down to the smaller people, the smaller investors.
I see.
And then somehow, once it actually makes it down onto the public, when they go and buy the shopping and the cars, that's when it goes into all of us plebs down the bottom. That's where we start to get like, oh, I've made X amount of sales in cars this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I can go and feed my family, that sort of thing. That's how it trickles down out from the top.
All right. Interesting stuff. It's like a ladder.
It's a bit like a ladder.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, the other trick is that if they ever went out there and injected that money straight into bank accounts of poor people, well, I mean, it kind of goes straight to the source. But it also, people go out there and they'll go and buy cheap TVs and clothing and stuff like that, and then the money moves faster, and they believe if it goes like that, then basically that drives up inflation faster.
Ah, right.
Because the poorer people down the bottom, they're always spending it on like junk,
Okay. Yeah.
lawnmowers and TVs and PlayStation, stuff like that. So it all goes to more of the non-asset related type stuff. It goes straight to the junky stuff, the stuff which loses value straight off as soon as you buy it, take it off the shelf.
Assets,
You buy a fridge for $2,000. You can only sell it for like $500 on Gumtree next month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The things that devalue really quickly.
Yeah.
They basically buy the junk.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So it's better to have more money in the middle or upper.
Well, I mean, look, the inflation doesn't get passed on quickly when it comes from the top.
Right.
It doesn't. It takes longer to get down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Which means that it doesn't drive the prices of gas up and the prices of fridges and stuff. But what it does drive up, when it goes to the bonds and then it goes to the shares, what do you think it drives up?
The dollar.
No, it drives up shares.
Drives up shares. Right. Okay.
What's happening with the Wall Street right now?
Actually, I think they're diving.
Diving?
Going
No.
down, yeah.
As far as I can tell, I don't think they are. Wall Street's booming. Wall Street's like
Well, they were.
heavy gambling right now. People are
Okay.
speculating like crazy, and they are picking winners all over the place, and everything's going up.
Cool.
Everything is going up, and
Yeah.
the reason why everything is going up is because obviously money is just getting injected straight, kind of into the top in most cases.
Yep.
And so people are out there gambling as hard as possible to get more yield.
All right. Wow. Yeah, I'm not up to date with the share price. Haven't been concentrating on it.
But I mean, that's essentially it. So like, the inflation that you and I sort of see is maybe fuel costs might go up a few cents here and there. Maybe milk goes up a bit higher. That's like CPI, the Consumer Price Index.
Oh yeah.
But the real inflation is happening in shares,
Yeah.
and it's happening in housing.
Okay.
That's why the housing is booming,
Yeah. Right.
because people are getting cheap debt,
Yeah.
and money's flowing out of all of these holes, and it's going into the system. Yeah, one sec. I'm gonna pause. All right, we just had a pause. Anyway, so we'll sort of wrap this up anyway, because it has been going for about 50 minutes now. You probably got a little bit to learn now, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. There's always never stop learning about it.
Yeah,
I guess.
because you've had that 2 years of no being completely out.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. 2 years of not knowing anything or not keeping updating to anything.
Mm.
So,
I'll have to kind of like show you exactly. Well, I don't know if you ever have some time or whatever like that. I'll have to show you how it actually physically works.
Yeah,
And I mean,
for sure.
I can show you my nodes so you can sort of see what's actually happening.
Oh, yeah,
See how it works.
I'll be keen for that.
Yeah, you can just take a look at that sort of stuff. Because like most, what they like to do these days, right, is if you run a node, which is basically just a computer, right, and it's update, you can validate the transaction that's in your wallet for yourself.
Okay.
So to some degree, by the wallet that you kind of have, you don't 100% know that it's actually valid. You don't quite know if it's actually truly there. There's even a possibility that if someone was to, I haven't seen this before, but I would imagine if someone else had your, your seed, and then they ripped it out of your, they actually sent the money out, that your wallet probably wouldn't recognize that it's probably gone. Because the new data hasn't been sent through, but it would have to go out there and inquire again, and then get the data which says that the money is moved.
Yep.
Might confuse it.
Yeah.
So without a proper node, you can't really check it for yourself. And there are ways to do it.
Yeah.
There are ways to do it.
That makes sense.
But that's the thing. I whenever I go out there and check the node, I check that things are still in place and stuff like that, just to make sure. It's good practice.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to check up on physical, like where it physically is. Even I know it's not physical, but where it's kept.
Yeah.
Checking all, because they're your assets,
Yeah. You don't want to lose them.
No.
Anyway, yeah. In all these years, what do you think? What do you think you're going to focus on now? What do you? How are you going to change the way you're going to go about this? Because I know that I was trying to tell you to just buy that little bit of bit of Bitcoin when it was at the bottom.
Yeah.
And even at that point in time, you thought, I'm going to wait for the dip.
Yeah.
Did that dip come?
Well, it didn't dip any further.
No.
No.
It ran away. It ran away from that exact moment when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
It never went back
No,
down after that day.
That's right. No. So what I'll do now, probably, I'll keep my eye on it, and then every paycheck I'll just put a bit in. Put a bit in and check it. Keep checking it every day.
You can automate that too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there was the recurring buy or DCA. Yeah, they work, and that's the thing. If you can always just direct debit your money straight in, and you don't even have to log on.
Yeah, I know. I've always sort of disagreed with direct debit.
Oh, okay.
Because I still get my bills on paper.
Yep.
I like mail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like mail and seeing where the money is and seeing how much how much it is, and I'm physically paying it off.
Yep.
Through my credit card and everything. That's just a habit, but it's one of those things that I could forget I'm doing. Like.
Okay. But I mean, if you see the money go out every single paycheck, you know that it's still happening. You just got to log on to find out what the balance is, and then withdraw it once it gets to that certain threshold.
Well, maybe like 1 month.
It's up to you if you want to go and pull it out straight away, or if you want to go and pull it out once it reaches a certain small milestone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think in my situation the amount's going to vary.
Oh, okay. So you're just going to do it ad hoc when you feel like it.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess. Okay.
Every paycheck, I'm just going to put. All right, I've got this much left over for crypto.
Yeah.
I'm going to chuck it in.
Okay.
And then.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I won't do it automatically.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It will be fun. It will be fun.
There's been times when I've just had the DCA set up, and there's been times when I've just simply turned it off and then just stacked.
Yeah.
It all depends on where the price action is and how I feel in my life as well. So if I've got some things to sort out, I'll just turn DCA off and then I'll go and sort that problem out and go and turn it back on again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on this and mentioning some of the things that you're doing. And
Yeah, it's all right. It's been a learning experience.
and I'm glad you're back into.
I'm glad I'm back into it too.
I'm glad because I thought I'd completely lost you there.
No. It was just more beneficial for me to get out of it and pay for my house more. But now that it's down to those levels that we were talking about before, I think I'm definitely back into it.
Yeah. Well, I still feel that if it's something where if you didn't want to keep it long term, you can go and pay off your house faster at this rate. If that's what your ultimate goal is.
Yeah.
But if that's not your ultimate goal, if you just wanted to hodl it and then just pay off your house with just plain dollars again, that's probably the smarter play.
Yeah.
So just keep the loan just floating until it hits the bottom.
Yeah.
Don't worry about when most people regret selling their Bitcoin, so
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you keep it for that day when everyone needs it. So
I definitely won't sell it right now. Like I definitely won't sell anytime soon.
Yeah.
The way it's going really good.
yeah.
It's going healthy. You know what I mean? Like
Well, what about if there's a next bear market? What are you going to do then?
I'm just going to keep it to.
If it crashes 60%,
I'll put a stop short. I think it's
you're going to do a stop loss.
stop loss. I'll put a stop loss on it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Because I've sometimes said there's no such thing as a stop loss in Bitcoin.
That's right, because that goes down like 1% below the stop loss, and then it goes back up again, and no one knows.
Yeah, but I generally say that because I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell it to stop a loss,
Yeah.
because when you've actually bought the Bitcoin, that's the win.
Yep.
And so when you sell your Bitcoin, essentially you're buying cash. You're buying dollars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That seems like the loss to me.
Okay.
To buy the dollars is the loss.
That's interesting.
So why would
point
you
of view.
stop loss
That's an interesting
into a
point.
dollar?
Yeah. Interesting point of view.
You're going from the really tight asset to the asset which is just printed to oblivion.
Yeah.
So to stop loss basically means that you're saying I want to get out of the hard money and go into the weak money.
Well, what would you do if it crashes?
If it crashes 60%, I'd stack more.
You buy more,
Yes.
even though you've lost the value.
Well, if I'm okay, but that's the thing. I mean, if it goes to $250,000 or whatever like that, then you're 250% up. So what, you go down to 100% up? What's the difference? You've gone up 250%.
Yeah.
But then you're back down to 100% up.
Yeah.
You haven't really lost at all.
No.
You've just simply gone back to where you started.
That's right. Yeah.
No, I would just stack more.
I see what
I
you
would
mean.
stack more so that when it goes up
Yep.
500%, you're
Yep.
up 500%.
I see.
So why would you stop loss? You sell out.
Mm.
Guess what?
You
have to go and speak to the tax man.
Yeah.
Tax man says, what we've been doing.
Yeah.
How did you suddenly acquire this like $50,000 or $500,000 or whatever like that? They're going to say, I kind of went and dabbled in this, and they'll say, okay, well, can you give us $25,000? Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I say there's no such thing as a stop loss, because if you do that, you get a tax man involved. Then you have to do all your accountancy and then you have to guarantee that it's going to drop more than 15-20%.
Yeah.
If it doesn't drop more than 15-20%, your capital gains is going to get you back to exactly where you started.
Yeah. Wow.
That's made you think, isn't it?
It has.
Think about that. And in the meantime, I might show you a trick or two about setting up some things. All right, I'm going to leave it at that.
All right.
Thanks for the chat.
No worries.
See you
Anytime.
later.